I want to welcome everyone to our last meeting of the year, our December board meeting. Thank you all for coming out. Tonight we have one of our seniors, JT Bunder, who's going to open us in prayer and then lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Please bow your head. Dear Lord, I want to thank you for this beautiful day you've given us. Thank you for this rain that you are giving us. Thank you for the blessings you continue to give us. Lord, put your hands on these board members and guide them to make the best decisions, not only for the city, but for the school. Lord, watch over us through our days. Please let everybody get home safe. In Jesus' name.
Amen.
I pledge
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, JT. Next on our agenda is consent items, consisting of the agenda, minutes of the October 8th. Am I looking at the wrong one?
Supposed to be November 12th.
Sorry. The agenda, minutes of the November 12th, 2019 meeting, high school and a high school fundraiser, and policy for revision, LDAJ/LDAJA. Okay. Need a motion to accept the consent items? Have a motion by Mr. Bunder to accept the consent items. Have a second by Mr. Madison. All in favor? Opposed? 4-1. Ms. Freeman opposing. Next on our agenda, we want to recognize some students that competed at the East Georgia Workforce Development Alliance Skills Challenge.
We have a very distinguished group with us. And Ms. Jordan, if you wouldn't mind, would you mind opening for the two exceptional teachers that are here, Mr. Connor and Mr. Holden?
Sure, I would love to do that. I will introduce my two teachers, Mr. Connors, who's over construction, and Mr. Holden, Trey Holden, over welding and metals. I'm going to let y'all do the introductions.
All right, y'all come up here. Well, since yours is out first.
All the way across, JT, so we can get a picture. Right there, perfect. We need a newspaper picture, so jump in there, guys.
All right.
Mr. Holden, don't take yourself out of the picture, sir. There you go.
Okay, smile. And one more for luck. Okay.
Well, we had our sixth annual East Georgia Workforce Development Alliance Skills Challenge in Augusta this year on November the 14th, and so we had pretty much a full house. I had 8 spaces, and so we actually had 7 students competing, 2 in masonry, 2 in carpentry, or I'm sorry, 1 in carpentry, 2 in electrical, and 2 in plumbing, and so kids had a great time. It was a lot of fun, and so JT Bundrick took first place in electrical this year, and it was kind of like a third time's a charm for him. I think this was his 4th competition, maybe, or third or 4th competition. Yeah. So this year he took first and won a nice big tool bag full of tools, and so it was great. So we had one of our plumbers, Noah Clark, couldn't make it here tonight, but he took 3rd place, got a bronze medal. So and that was good. That was it for the construction.
Well, on the welding side, we had we got a couple that aren't here tonight, but we have 3 welding contests. We have beginner welding, advanced welding, and a fab team contest.
Our beginner welder was Connor Wall, and he took first place. Our FAB team was Colby Howard, Storm Bessinger, and Mark Wallace, who's not here, and they took first place. And then our advanced welder was Russell Calloway. Russell didn't place in the top 3, but because he did compete, they were actually able to win the Welding Cup again for 2 years in a row. We've had it in Lincoln County. And that's the cup is determined by the highest overall score between all 3 welding contests. And of course, since we had 2 first, and then our other student placed a little bit lower, but he still placed, you know, they were able to win the cup for 2 years in a row. And, very proud of them. Very proud of them.
Good job.
So that's it.
Congratulations, guys.
One thing you didn't say was that, because I looked at the list of schools, we were the only Class A school competing, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I didn't see any other Class A's listed.
Probably so. I'm not sure on all the classes, but I'm sure we were probably the smallest school there. And,
Great job.
You know, it really is. You know, as far as the programs go, most schools either have one or the other. They either have welding or they have construction. Very few programs have both. And you know, it's just the way it is. It doesn't really matter how big that school system is. It's just the luck of the draw what programs they got.
It's also
Great
a
job.
testament to what you guys are doing in the classroom is awesome. Thank you very
We're
much.
trying.
That's right.
Try hard.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank you
y'all.
very much.
Yeah.
Appreciate
Thank
it.
y'all.
Okay, at this time we'll move on to financials. Ms. Bufford?
All right, we'll start with the general fund. You can see we have 41.66% of our fiscal year complete at the end of November. Excuse me. We started collecting a few of our taxes. Most of those did not come in by the end of November. We have gotten some from the tax commissioner, and I expect a lot more before we leave in December. At the end of November, we had 30.82% of our revenues. You can see some of those look a little high. We've talked about those in previous months, that we would be adjusting those in the amended budget for the amounts that are a little bit higher than we had put in the original budget. On the expenditure side, we're at 39.33%, and that is looking quite good compared to that 41.66. I look back, and last year this time we were at 40.58%, so very close to where we were last year, and all of our expenses are in line and look very reasonable. On our balance sheet, we have about $1.6 million in cash in the bank. We have a fund equity of about $800,000. You notice that has been going down each month, but that's again because of our taxes not coming in. Once those start coming in, that figure will rise back up. And this is just a summary showing you what has happened with the fund equity from the end of last year until now. On our SPLOST, we were a little disappointed in our SPLOST this month. We're still above our $50,000, but barely over that. So it's not quite as good as last month or last year. But the other months were well over the $50,000, so we're still in good shape as far as our budget is concerned and paying off our bonds. And you can see on the next page, excuse me, the SPLOST summary. We've got about $354,000 in the bank with our SPLOST money. We've got about $450,000 in the bond money, giving us a little over $800,000 toward that April payment of $1.1 million. So we should be in good shape to make that payment. On our capital projects, no specific projects have been identified, so we're holding that money, $52,487, for future projects. We also have the principal's quarterly accounts. This is the elementary school, started with 31,140.62 the 1st of July. This is as of the end of September, 53,327.53. The middle school started with 46,228.03 and ended with 54,631.72. The high school activities accounts, 52,783.82 for a beginning balance and 68,313.50 for an ending balance. And the athletic high school account, 22,641.76, the ending balance of 38,714.33.
Does anyone have any questions over the numbers that Ms. Buffer has given us? Thank you, Ms. Buffer. Next on the agenda is the purchase of a bus.
At the end of November, we were notified by the state that we would receive the amount for the bond bus. That amount is $77,220. They also added, because the prior bus that we purchased was a propane bus, they added an additional $8,000 to that because it's considered an alternative fuel bus. That would give us $85,220 towards a new bus. Mr. Scott has selected a 66-passenger Bluebird propane bus, just like the one we bought earlier this year. So the total cost of that bus is $99,899. And I'm recommending that we purchase that with the bond bus funds.
And the extra money, where will it come from?
The extra money would come from transportation and from the fund balance, which would be $14,600 and some change.
How much would come from transportation, Mr. Chair?
Do you have a breakdown?
I do not,
Explain on that.
I do not.
So we don't know how much would come from transportation and how much would come from fund balance, but it's presented to us, but nobody can answer our question?
Was it budgeted? Wasn't it budgeted already?
It was not.
No.
This
We
one was not
budgeted
budgeted.
for one bus.
Okay.
No, we
Okay, this
didn't
is
think
the
we were
second.
going to get a bus
Okay.
bus, and then we found out we did. So we felt like that was too big an opportunity to pass up, that we did need another bus. So it's very good. We can keep 2 each year, so.
But as far as, I mean, right now, from the, I know you said some from the fund balance. I mean, is there a percentage that you plan on?
The reason I'm not giving an exact number is because normally at the end of the year, we don't spend all of our fuel allowance and we don't spend all of our repair allowance, and that would be more than the $14,679. If I give you an exact figure, I feel like I'm telling you an untrue. So that's why I'm saying fund balance and transportation. I don't know that exact number, but usually there's more than $15,000 left over in transportation.
Mr. Chair, my concern is only this. This year, we cut our monies in reserve. Am I right?
We budgeted to.
Right, we budgeted less, we cut. So we don't have as much money as we normally do in our reserve account. And this being the end of the year. So that's why it's important to know from what budget department this money is coming from and how much. And I would think, since it's an item on the agenda, that the research would have been done prior to the meeting, to at least tell us how much is in the transportation budget. And I think we just saw the report of how much is in fund balance, but how much is in the Department of Transportation on hand?
We can look back.
I'm not sure what you mean, just in the transportation budget,
How much money they got
expenditure wise?
that they can spend? How much money do they have that they can spend?
Well, we budgeted $1,181,681, and they've spent $432,169.72 of that.
So they spent $432,000?
Mhm.
Is the other money budgeted out? Is there something it's going to, or is it just money there? I know it's for,
I'm not sure what you mean. That's to pay the salaries, the benefits, the maintenance of the buses, the bus insurance.
that's
all
what
of
I'm
those
saying.
things.
Is it all accounted for, or do we have extra money in that account? Mr. Chair, is my question.
Well, I mean, right now, we're under our 41.6%. And the reality is like Dr. Light said earlier, it's a situation where the bond bus, I mean, we're getting 85% of this bus paid for. by the state.
I understand that,
And,
Mr.
and I
Chair.
mean, so I mean, we don't need to pass that up.
I understand that.
And as he said, it's coming out of the maintenance and operation for the transportation. And it's a matter of that 14,000 out of that 1.3 million. So can you say that all of it's coming out right now? The majority of it will come out of that. That's where all of it will be put if we do like we've done in the past couple of years and end up to the excess in maintenance and operations.
Can I ask,
But, go ahead.
Ms. Buffer, do you see an issue with this?
What, coming up with the 15,000?
Yes, ma'am.
No, I don't think that'll be a problem.
Okay, thank you.
The reason that I was concerned, because there was other issues or monies that needed to be put places and we didn't have it. And now all of a sudden, for this, we do, which is fine. But when it comes to employee raises, we don't have any money. And it's just curious. It's just curious. Because we still have people working at poverty level and they're doing a good job, like our custodians, our food service workers, our parapros, who I just thank God that they're still working, because they're certainly aren't making $8 an hour or whatever the case may be, but it's way below poverty level in my opinion. So that's what's my concern. And I don't think it's a frivolous concern. I think it's a righteous concern. So it's just amazing how we find money for a bus, but we can't find money for human beings. That's all I have.
Thank you. So you have a proposal in front of you to purchase this bus.
I'll make a motion.
$99,000, $85,000 from the state grant.
I'll make a motion.
Have a motion by
Approved.
Mr. Heitman to accept the superintendent's recommendation. Second, Mr. Madison. All in favor? Opposed?
My-
4.
Actually, my pinky went up.
Okay, she did oppose.
Or the one,
Yes, ma'am.
Actually, Mr. Chair, my pinky went up.
In favor?
Yes, it did.
Okay, okay, I didn't see that, sorry.
I'm sure.
It's unanimous, thank you. Number 9, the next on the agenda is eTrieve software package.
Currently, we're using SoftDocs in our finance department that handles accounts payable for us, purchase orders, and payroll programs. We use it every day. Unfortunately, SoftDocs is no longer going to support the upgrades to this software. As of December 2020, it will go away. The upgrade is being changed. It's now called eTrieve, or will be called eTrieve. The software is similar, but of course they make changes when they upgrade a software. Mrs. Bufford has been researching this for a while and has looked at other choices, other options, and she truly believes this is the best change for us, is to continue with SoftDocs but now upgrade it to eTrieve. To convert all of our information to eTrieve is $30,504. Now, that's an estimation, but that was the estimation that eTrieve gave us. The annual fee for eTrieve is $28,500 with a guarantee that the annual fee will not increase by more than 3% each year over the next 5 years. If we purchase this upgrade prior to September 30, then we will also save a prorated amount, including a discount. As you'll see on the third document, there is a discount of 40%. That being said, it was recommended to me by Ms. Bufford, and I agree with her that we need to convert to eTrieve so that we can continue to use this SoftDocs package. The total package would cost us $59,004, and yes, it would come out of fund balance. Ms. Buffer, do you need to add anything to that? I'm not trying to steal your department, but
That's fine, you gave a good summary. The main issue is that, as far as what they're telling us, is that they're trying to make it more secure. We'll have cloud backup now, which we don't have. And they are meeting requirements that colleges and universities are requiring for them. They're actually stricter than the K-12 environment. And so they are doing away with what they currently have. And they're, I'm not going to say the only one in the state that offer this, but they're one of the best that integrate with our state-provided program of PC Genesis. And so I just feel like they're the best out there right now. I've talked with several finance directors who've already converted, who converted earlier. This program's been around for about 5 years, and the representatives have been talking to me about that, but I did not want to be the guinea pig, so I wanted other people to work out the kinks. And I think they have. The ones that I'm talking to now, I talked with them about a year ago or so, and they were saying there were some problems with it. I talked back with them more recently, and they said most of the problems have been resolved, and they are very pleased with the program and what it will do integrating with the PC Genesis. So it's mainly a security issue, and that's why the cost is going up. Currently, we're paying about $12.5 for the subscription to that.
that's annually, right?
Annually.
12.5.
Yeah, about 12.5, so it's more than doubled, and I did talk to them about that, and that's what they said, because they're making it more secure and they're providing the cloud storage, they had to go up on the price.
But now, on that first document, it said upgrade prior to September 30th, but you're saying all of this, 2020, but all this needs to be done now.
Well, the 40% off is through the end of December of 2019. Now, we've got until the end of December of 2020 before they actually do away with the program. What the September 30th issue is as far as the proration, because we paid for it starting on October 1st, they'll give us a proration of that towards that $20,000 for the next year's subscription. So like if we do it in January,
Okay.
they'll prorate it. But if we don't go ahead and sign the agreement by the end of December, the price may go up because of that 40% discount.
And just looking at this, the 30,000 is due upon signing the contract. Then the 28, would it be due just for the next school year?
The 28 would be due once the program's actually installed. The 30 is an estimate of what they think it will cost to convert it and train them. So as soon as they start the conversion, they're going to want, some payment on that. But that is actually an estimate of what the training. I think they estimate it'll take 4 days to convert and train the employees on the new program.
Jim, do you have a question?
She answered it. I was gonna ask what we were paying.
Mr. Chair, what program is this replacing?
Soft Docs is what you named it?
Soft Docs, right.
Soft Docs?
We handle all of our purchase orders and all of our checks, both the finance checks, the accounts payable checks, and the payroll checks are all processed through this. So our process is paperless. We still have a backup because I don't trust everything on a computer, but it has helped a lot with the campus mail. We were having to run, invoices and purchase requisitions and purchase orders all through the campus. Now that's all done on the computer, so we can instantly see when somebody approves the document, it goes on to the next person, and our processing time has been cut a lot by using this program, and it's also eliminated a lot of the, I can't find the paper, or it's sitting on somebody's desk. We know exactly where it is because we can see where it is in the process. It's helped our employees because they can log on and see their pay stubs, they can see their W-2s, and they can also see if they have done their W-4 and G-4 online, they can see those as well. So I think it's a very useful program on both sides.
So with the current program, they can't see their W-2 forms?
If we
even
don't
though-
use this program, they won't be able to. PC Genesis does not provide that. So this is a program that interacts with our regular accounting program.
So
The
we-
accounting program is provided by the state. We don't pay anything for it.
So we've been paperless for a while,
Yes, ma'am.
and people have not been able to get their W-2s or?
No, we still print a paper W-2, but for example, if for whatever reason you needed your 2017 W-2, you can go online and it's there.
I know
You can
most
print a
school
copy
systems
of
have
it.
been doing that for years. So I'm just shocked to know that we're paperless with direct deposit,
Mhm.
but haven't been giving access to people through our system. That's just shocking. As a business person, that's shocking to me. Because most school systems, like, you know, my husband's a retired teacher, and they've always been able to go look at their stuff online, like what you just quoted.
And they-
W-2s from
We've been
year
doing
to
that
year.
for about 3 or 4 years now, yeah.
So, oh, that was my question. You said no.
Oh, I'm sorry, I misunderstood your question.
Okay.
Yes, it is currently providing that service. We just want to continue it with the new program. We would not be able to do that unless we have some type of program to interact with the ones.
So
that
what's the
state
current
provides.
program that you have that's providing it? That's,
Soft Docs,
and they're,
and that company is doing away with that program and
Okay.
creating eTreeve.
okay, so it's the same company
Same
creating
company,
a new
right, just a new
program
program. It's a
to get more money,
upgraded, more secure program.
to get more money.
Well, that too.
And there's not another,
There's not another one that will do what that one will do. There are some people that are looking at another company, but they have not done anything with Georgia K-12 schools. And I don't want to be the one to teach them how to do it.
I
So,
understand, but, okay, all right.
these people are very familiar with K-12 and they're very familiar with PC Genesis, the
So now they're
state-provided
taking
program.
advantage of their familiarity.
Well,
That's just my opinion.
That's
It's business, I
what it
guess.
is, yes. And so, I mean, you've researched and you don't see another real option for us.
I've not seen another vendor that can do what this one will do.
So the only real option is that we postpone it until July or August, or do it now and
Right.
be ready for it.
Right.
So,
And I don't want to be one of the last ones where we're rushing and then all of a sudden we don't have a program because they can't work us in to their schedule to get us converted. So that's why I'm thinking we need to go ahead.
Ms. Bufford, it says it's gonna go up 3% annually,
Yes,
and then it says after the 4th year, it's gonna be a minimum of 3%. They kinda got you, don't they?
the contract won't guarantee it past that.
Yes, ma'am.
They definitely have you, yes, sir.
Yeah, doubling the price. So we just have to put it into our budget, I guess.
Yes, sir.
Piggyback on a question that he asked. So does it mean that they're held at 3%, or 3% is the minimum?
Max.
It will go up 3%. a
That's what I'm
year.
asking, is that the max?
That's the maximum.
For 4 years.
For the
For,
first, yeah.
Okay,
well,
first
for
5,
5
that's
years,
right.
4 years from the signing.
it also says, in the documentation that I'm seeing here, that they have 2, 3, 4, and 5-year contracts. Which one are you proposing tonight? They have 1 year, but,
Well, I would say go ahead with the 5 because then you're guaranteed they're not going up more than 3%. Now, there's always the fiscal funding clause of if the funding's not available, the school can't get out of it.
but what if you find a better company?
Then that would be a breach of contract if we did that.
Yeah.
But you could get out of it in 5 years.
I'm looking at the agreement, and the incentive for 5 years is not that great. We're talking about just a couple $100 difference in price. For example, 1 year signing agreement is $29,355. Our 4 year is $32,77. So they're not offering you really any great savings.
I think that's a guaranteed
If
amount.
you don't sign
isn't
the
it?
5-year one, then they can go up whatever they want the next year though.
Well, nowhere in this contract do I see, or this agreement, do I see where it says it's guaranteed.
Well, that's what that is it? The dollar amount?
But if it's not, if it doesn't specifically say
Well, it
that
does.
it's, where does it say it's
First year
guaranteed?
be 29,355, the second year 30,236, and so on. And then after that 5th year, then they're gonna go at least 3%.
But nowhere in that agreement does it say that the prices will not change. So if it doesn't say it, then they can change it.
I'm not sure about that. I'm reading it a little different than you are.
Well,
I see agreement. To me, agreement means that's what it's gonna be.
Agreement means it's whatever it says on that paper,
Yes,
That's
ma'am.
how I take it.
but
Yes,
it
ma'am.
doesn't say it's not subject to change within those 5 years.
Right, it's gonna stay that dollar amount. Either way, it's more than double what it is right now, so.
Yes.
Ms. Buffer said we got to have it though.
And that's the sad reality of it, yes. And it's like Ms. Freeman said, they know there's not much other options out there, so they not supporting one, stop supporting one, and double the price on this one, so. But I'm not an IT guru that can go out and create a program to compete with it, so.
Wish you could.
Any other discussion on it? It's basically, it's saying it's 3% annually. It will be a 3% annual increase. It tells you that right up front. That's what those numbers are, the 3% increases.
But it never says that it won't go above the 3%,
Yeah, go back.
does it?
Yeah, will not increase.
Does it say not increase
Uh-uh.
over?
Back to the,
Well, that's Dr. Light's summary on the front page.
okay.
Actually, no.
But it says annual cost hosting and support subject to a 3% annual increase.
It just says subject to 3% annual increase each year thereafter.
Which is.
Yes. I mean, and we can get it written better. I mean, as far as before we can approve this contract, but we can get it, ask that you make sure that it's written that those are 3%. I mean, those numbers there are payments each year.
Right, you know, we could say maximum 3%.
So, are we currently budgeted 12.5 a year, Ms. Buffer? Is that what we're doing?
Yes, sir.
So we got the difference in this, we're gonna have to increase in the budget.
Yes.
You see any problem with that?
We'll be taking it out of the fund balance that was higher than I thought it was going to be last year, so.
Okay.
By 800 and some, yes.
800 what?
800 and some thousand that we didn't spend out of fund balance last year that was budgeted.
Well, we're tight folks. okay,
Yes,
so-
and I greatly appreciate that. It just makes horrible situations like this much easier to deal with.
Yes, sir. Yep.
Okay, any other discussion on it? Any motion?
I'll make a motion. We accept.
I have a motion by Mr. Heitman to accept the proposal change from soft docs to e-tree. As presented by Dr. Light.
Second.
Question?
Second by Mr. Madison. Good question.
Yes. Could we first, I know we have a motion on the floor, but my question is, I don't like a blind contract. You're saying that there's a possibility you can get the wordage changed. Could we do that and table this and have a call or whatever, or say contingent upon the language being corrected?
Well, I mean, and that's a possibility. I think it's just semantics on the contract. I think the contract, I mean, I see it as saying what you want it to say. But, and so that's, and I say I have no problem with making, requiring them to put that in this. I'm not saying that, I don't think we're asking, be out of anything out of the ordinary, asking them to do. It's just to get the wording in, as you said, a little bit clearer. But I mean, as I see it, as I read it, that is our price next year, 2 years from now, 3 years from now, 4 years from now.
Yeah, they gave you exact amount.
We don't have a price for that 5th year. And all they tell us there is that it's gonna be a minimum 3% increase. But these 5 years, we have a price. And as Ms. Buffer said, that the 40%, and it may just be thrown out. We may could get it in January, but right now the 40% requires it to be done this year. And that is a substantial savings.
We've been bitten a few times by contracts, this very discussion, and if it's not in writing, then, you know, and this has come back to haunt us before, so that's my concern. A contract is a contract, and if it doesn't have specific language, then it's not binding, and it doesn't matter what the opinion is. What matters is what's written in stone. Mr. Chair, that's my only discussion.
Okay. All right, well, we have a motion and a second on the floor. No further discussion. All in favor? Opposed? 4-1. Next on the agenda is the 403B plan update.
Mrs. Freeman was contacted in the middle of November by Voya, formerly known as ING or ING. Voya notified us that our 403B plan needed restating due to changes in the IRS regulations, and they walked us through the steps to reinstate our plan and make it current with the proper language and provisions required. The 403B plan is for tax-sheltered annuities, allowing employees to defer the taxation. It is my recommendation that we approve the resolution to adopt this plan to maintain our 403B plan for our employees. And I'm supposed to read the resolution. A resolution to adopt a written plan for public school 403B tax-deferred annuity program, whereas Lincoln County Board of Education has established a retirement plan under Section 403B of the Internal Revenue Code of 1986 as amended, whereas the Internal Revenue Service has issued final regulations under Section 403B of the code that would, in reliant part, require the Lincoln County Board of Education to adopt a written plan to ensure compliance with Section 403B of the code and the regulations therein. Be it resolved that effective January 1, 2009, and yes, that's a correct date, the Lincoln County Board of Education will adopt the ING 403B plan for a public school attached hereto and effective January 1, 2010. Yes, that's the right date. The Lincoln County Board of Education does hereby adopt the Lincoln County Board of Education 403B plan with summary of plan provisions. Be it further resolved that the board authorizes the superintendent of Lincoln County Board of Education to execute the Lincoln County Board of Education 403B plan attached hereto. Now, the reason I said that's the right date is I asked that question. Why is that date on there? That date is on there because it goes back 10 years, correct?
Because when they restated the plan, they said you restate it back to the first day of January 2010. I don't know why, but that's
Who said that?
Voya did. They're the ones who set this up for us.
Who said it? I'm sorry.
Voya, who
It's
is
a financial.
Voya said to date something in 2019.
Well, we're not dating it that. It says the effective date of the changes are January 1 of 2010.
So they're making this board accountable for something half of us was not on, may have not been on at that particular time frame?
That's just what they said to do. That
And this is a
it
legal
was
document?
That's what they said.
Mr. Chair, I don't feel comfortable voting on something of this magnitude without having the attorneys look at it and somebody telling us why.
Their attorneys did, but if you would
They
like-
what, I'm sorry?
Their attorneys have looked at it, they're the ones that told us to do it, but if you would like for ours to, I guess we could have him look at it as well.
Well, their attorneys aren't sitting here tonight telling us why.
I mean, and that's, like I said, because I'm looking at it, looking at the actual plan that's in there. I'm not sure where the changes are made or anything else.
The only adjustments are to the IRS regulations. Everything else is the same.
Okay, so basically, the date aspect of it is just because of with these annuities being in there, and the plan hasn't changed. It's just, and so that's why the dates stayed the same on it. Now, the resolution will be dated today,
That's correct.
correct? Any other discussion on it? Any other thoughts on it? And you heard what Ms. Freeman, her thoughts on it. Anyone else have any thoughts on it? Is this gonna be an issue that has to be
It's
turned in
supposed
by
to
the
be,
end of this year, or?
yes, sir, it's supposed to be done by December. And that surprised me that they called her in the middle of November, but it's supposed to be done by December. Is that correct, Ms. Buffer?
I believe so.
That's what Sabrina had said, so I was trying to follow directions.
Well, the way I read it says that the Board of Education adopted the plan and then it was effective. It was adopted in January 1st, 2009. It was effective January 1st, 2010.
Correct.
Was that when it started?
That's
Yeah.
the original
That's
plan.
what the terminology is.
And what we've changed is the IRS regulations that they sent us.
I don't know what to tell you about it really.
Were we out of, Mr. Chair, excuse me,
Yes, ma'am.
were we out of compliance? Why did, what triggered this to come up? Was what, red flag or yellow flag?
It's probably something that the IRS did. I mean, that's what typically happens, that they made some change to it, and so whether it's through the investing or something with some tax code that requires it.
Yeah, I mean, it's
noted.
And it's in the very first page, the summary kind of tells you what's going on.
Yeah.
It needs restating due to changes in IRS regulations.
But it doesn't give any specifics, was what I was alluding to, unless you saw something I didn't see.
Well,
It's just the like you said, just a specific IRS regulation.
if it's not done this year, they're not gonna, somebody's gonna pay taxes on any money they make in their 403, is that right?
3 days.
I don't know. I'm not an expert at it, so I don't know if y'all feel comfortable with it. I certainly don't.
It's like you said, the dates are just when this plan went into effect.
Right.
It's nothing to do with, but that is the plans that they went into effect on. So.
Right. And the only change was the IRS codes, which is what we had to update.
And it says it's required to keep the tax exempt status, so I don't do it. We don't really have a choice.
Not on IRS codes, we don't, and you're correct. If we don't do it, then we would lose that.
Can we approve it and have our attorney look at it? And,
Before I sign it.
yeah. I don't know.
I can, if you make a motion with that, I will withhold my signature until that's done. So, verify that we talked with Hartley.
You said the federal, Mr. Chair, you said the federal government, the IRS is requiring this, right?
That's what it says, yes.
It says of the plan year, the plan's records are maintained on a 12-month period of time. This is known as the plan year. The plan year ends December 31st. The plan will be governed by the laws of the state of the employer's principal place of business to the extent not governed by federal law. So, as I said, it's just a little, and that's in Article, I believe that's 9 or 11. General information about the plan.
Ms. Hunt, if you want to make your motion like you just mentioned, with you not signing until it is reviewed by our attorneys.
Okay, that sounds good. I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
When will we get an explanation?
Well, I can email everyone an explanation on that. And that's, and basically all I would be asking our lawyers, is there anything that caused us trouble by us submitting this resolution? And whatever explanation they give, why it has to be done, I'll be more than happy to share that. All right. We have a motion, we have a second. All in favor? Opposed?
Mr. Chair, I'm abstaining because you said you would communicate, and I am not a person that you communicate with. You never have, so I probably would not be included in that communication, so I abstain.
Okay. Your email will be on it though,
I don't
as it
have,
always is. So,
yeah, I don't have an email
like
at
I
the
said,
point,
I will make sure the email.
except my personal.
Okay. Principal's presentation of CCRPI.
We'd ask the principals to do some deep diving into CCRPI results, try and give us a little bit of background and idea of how they're going to attack some of the challenges and bragging on some of the great numbers that are here as well. So I believe Dr. Gumby gets to go first. Is that correct?
Yes, sir. Good evening.
Good
Good
evening.
evening.
I have a hour version, 20-minute version, and a 5-minute version. Which would you like?
5 minutes.
5 minutes. All right. Mr. Michael Williams did a great job the last 2 months kind of going over CCRPI with you. The different buckets, different categories, and not to compare high school with elementary and middle because they're different buckets, different categories. So when I get my scores, I look at how other high schools did, not comparing them to the other two schools here. So the high school buckets are content mastery, and that is, as you can see, we went down in content mastery. Those are your EOC scores. Progress is how did our students do compared to other schools in the district. Districts around us of similar grades. So we did go down in those two, and closing the gaps was our biggest drop. So we've attacked that. We actually drilled down into looking at what happened, and we actually found out a particular subject. We actually found out that it was a large subgroup. And again, Mr. Williams did a great job explaining subgroups to you. I won't tell you which subgroup, but we had a subgroup of 55 students. And that was a challenge. That was the largest subgroup we've ever had. And when you increase the rigor for all kids, you increase the rigor for the top kids and the bottom kids. So sometimes our bottom kids don't do well
on those tests. They do make progress, but they may not pass that particular test on that particular day, one day out of the year. What we're proud of is readiness and graduation. And readiness is actually, are we preparing kids for college? Are we preparing kids for graduation? And so we're excited that even though this test score was low, it is saying our kids are involved in dual enrollment. Our kids' Lexile scores are going up, and our kids are going to college ready without the need of remediation. So we are extremely proud of that. That's due to our great CTA program, our AP teachers, and then now the different colleges that wants to do business with us and our students. Our graduation rate, of course, it increased, and we're very proud of that. Dr. Light and I talk a lot about, when students enroll with us, do we take them, do we don't take them? So we go through that process. For example, a kid who comes in 17, 18 with 3 credits, what are you going to do? Do you take him? Your heart goes out, say, yes, I want to do that. But then you do take them and they drop out, then that hurts our dropout number. We're small, so 2 or 3 students can, affect our scores. But we are on the rise, and we are happy about that. Our readiness indicators, and as you can see, they're going up all across the board. Student attendance, students have to be here at least 10% of the time. So we're happy that students are coming, enjoying school, which is what we want them to do. 90, 10. That wouldn't be good. Accelerated enrollment, that's our dual enrolled students and our AP students. So again, we're looking to increase dual enrollment and put a plug in there. So anyone out there in the community who wants to go to college, we have GMC right here in our backyard. So we want our students in the college, in the high school, and those in the community to be in the same class so that we can continue to have a satellite campus here in Lincoln County. Our pathway completers, Ms. Jordan, CTA, great job. These numbers that we're talking about now, these are only our 12th graders. So this number for college students, for our dual enrolled is only 12th graders. So again, we have 9th graders, 10th graders, and 11th graders, but they're not counted in this number here, only the 12th graders. And then college and career readiness, our kids are ready to go to college, which is a great thing, and we're on an increase in that as well. Graduation rate, as you can see, numbers are going up. 5-year graduation, that is important, guys, because some kids take 5 years, and some kids just learn at a slower pace, and we're just thankful that they do come back. And so that's why the state is capturing this number. And our sped population, they can actually be in school till they're 21 years old. So why would you cut them off if the state says they can be there additional years? So we are getting some good numbers from our 5-year graduation rate. And this is what I'm proud of. Over the last 6 years, the state has been keeping up with this, and we have been a Star 5 climate for 4 out of 6 years. And these surveys are done by teachers, by students, by parents. And it's kind of, it's asking them, do they feel safe at our school? Is there good communication? And as a principal, that's what we want, good open communication. And 5 stars is the highest you can get, and we're just excited about that. And I guess ending with what we're planning on doing, we have identified, in order for these scores to come up, we have identified the subject, we've identified students, and we're grateful for the federal program giving us additional dollars for those at-risk kids to be able to buy software programs, to buy different things to help them keep up with students, the other students who are actually getting at their level and speed at which they do it. So attendance, again, is all part of it. And again, our overall score is a 92. And we're just happy that students feel safe, teachers feel safe, and parents feel good about their kids coming to Lincoln County High School. Any questions?
Thank you, Dr. Goodman.
Thank you, sir.
Guys, I'm going to talk to you a little bit about the elementary school. As you know, I've been there since August, so I can't take credit for any of the gains that we saw. It was the teachers that we have there, the prior administration. They've done a great job. This is our comparisons. We did go down a little bit in content mastery, and like Dr. Gumby said, when you have a decrease like that, you dig into it to see what happened. And we looked and saw that our 5th grade social studies scores and science, 5th grade dipped a little there. We improved in some areas, but then we have some areas to work on. Our progress increased, which we were very proud of, because that's the students, like Mr. Williams shared with you. You look at the similar demographic students and you track their progress, and so that's a good thing. This is the kicker. This is where we were at the middle school the year before. We were at 100% closing gaps, and then it dropped to 27.8, and you're going, what in the world? The year that we were at 100, our economically disadvantaged students received a green flag with a yellow star, which means it was calculated at 6%. And so that was a good thing. This year, we only had our white subgroup that didn't do well. This score here is where those subgroups did not perform as well. I really I struggle with closing the gaps, and the reason why is it's not the same children, it's different groups of children every year. We do know what's happening. We had SLDS training today, and we'll have it again tomorrow with the state, because the teachers there had never really gotten down and dug into the data that the state provides us, and so we're providing that training for our teachers today and tomorrow. Dr. Metz is with us today, and then tomorrow she'll be with 3 through 5, which is where all of this comes from. And we're hoping that she can invite the teachers. I shared this when I was at the middle school. Ms. Bird and I dug into the data, and we did all of that work, and you give it to the teachers, and I'm not knocking the teachers, but when you give it to them, they look at it. I'm not saying they don't, but when they dig into it themselves and they can go down to the specific subgroup, then the child that's in their class, they can see where they are and where they've got to take them, and it makes a big difference. So we're hoping that the score will increase. Our readiness stayed pretty much the same. We're working there on attendance with our white students. It's about the same every year. It's like 84, 85. Our literacy is another area that we're working on, and what we've realized is, Mrs. Aycock did, that kindergarten, they needed a new reading program, and so what they did was we adopted reading mastery in kindergarten, and it goes all the way back to the basics, and it takes the children, meets them where they are, and helps them. Mrs. Goldman and I, since we have been digging into all this and looking at it, we have discovered that we are using SRA for our other grades, and it's not an intervention that we're happy with. It's dated. It's just not a quality product, and so we are currently talking to some vendors, trying to get them to give us the samples so that we can dig into it and look at it and make some improvements there. I will say that we are still utilizing our tutors. We have 2 ladies that come and work along with Mrs. Goolsby works with our students all the way up to 3rd grade. She's kind of our reading specialist or interventionist, and she is working hard, and so are these 2 ladies that are retired teachers that come in and work. And we want to look at those students that they're working with and see the gains that they make, to see if that's making a difference. And we use our federal dollars to do that. So that's kind of where we are there. These are some of the highlights out of the content mastery areas. As you can see, social studies here is only in 5th grade, and it was hit hard. And I think part of it was that there was such a big focus on math and ELA and getting those scores up. Social studies kind of went to the wayside in 5th grade, and social studies is not taught every day there. So we're looking at that, and we're looking at what we're using to teach that content area as well. We are very proud of our climate score. It's 5 stars, and we're very proud of that. And like Dr. Gumby said, I checked it the other day, and We have several parents, 40-something parents that have already gone and completed it for this upcoming year. And that's the challenge there, is to get enough people to do it, but they usually come through for us. And so, any questions? I think, Mrs. Goldman and I just decided we were gonna sit back this year and not go in and go whoof and change a lot of things, because we really didn't know what to change or what needed to be addressed until we got in there and started digging into the data. Yes, sir.
I'm working on my acronym sheet. You mentioned SLDS. What is that?
It's a system from the state. It's the student, longitudinal data system. Student longitudinal data system.
Okay.
And for example, and our fifth graders, when the state has uploaded their data, Mr. Heitman, and so if I want to drill down to a domain level, I can, and then I can keep drilling until I can find the students that scored a certain score in that domain. Then figure out, okay, that child is in this person's class, this is where they were, this is what we need to do. So it's just data over time. You can look at attendance, like today. We were looking at some, we have a fifth grader that's missed 40-something days this year, but we looked back at previous years. Fourth grade, she missed about that many days for the whole year. Second grade, she had an attendance problem. First grade, so you can go back several years, so that's kind of what that is. And I'm sorry, I should have probably said that.
No, that's
you
okay.
are new.
Yeah.
But that's what it is, looking at that.
Okay.
Okay.
What's SRA?
Scholastic reading. It's a
Sorry.
reading program, just like the reading mastery that we have in kindergarten. It is stories the children read, and then they have comprehension questions, vocabulary questions, that sort of thing. It's been around for a long time, and if you were to take a reader from that program and look at it, you would probably chuckle at the pictures. It's just
Outdated.
and it's not interesting to the children. It doesn't, the topics are, don't catch their attention either. And so when you have that, are you gonna wanna read that? No. So we've got to look at what we do. And that's an intervention that we use. It's not the only thing. We use Fontaine, which is phenomenal, and it's doing what it's supposed to for us, but we need to look at that other intervention. So that's where we're at.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Good evening. I'm going to talk to you about middle school and some of the gains that we've made. Been very, very proud of what we've done this year, or last year to this year. Last year our score was 65.4, and you saw that this year it was 78.5. We have we've come up in every category across the board: content mastery, progress, closing the gaps, and readiness. Closing the gaps, of course, being the most significant. We attribute that to, we knew that we had to do something. When you get a closing the gap score of 11.1, you have an issue. There's some problems. So we dug into the data, had a faculty meeting, and just laid it out. We looked at across the state, statewide, 90.7% of the schools were doing better than Lincoln County Middle School, and that was just not okay. This year, only 9% are doing better than Lincoln County Middle Schools in that area for closing the gap. So we are very proud of that. Last year in January, Ms. Arthur and I sat down together and made some decisions about our schedule and put extra time into math and ELA. Those are the only two subjects that are tested across the board in 6th, 7th, and 8th grade, and we believe that that has made a tremendous impact on our score, obviously. And we hope that that continues, because we continued with that schedule this year. The only issue with that schedule is that we have 30 students sitting in a math and an ELA class. So what we did this year to help that was to do what Ms. Arthur has done at the elementary school, and what they continue to do is to hire RTI tutors to come in, and they are able to help in the classroom and alleviate some of those numbers. And we use federal dollars to do that. So that's been a big plus, and we're hoping to see great gains from that too this year. Our readiness has gone up. Our readiness is the Lexile scores and the literacy, attendance, and beyond the core. In middle school, we offer 2 classes that they can actually, 8th graders can take for high school credit. So that's a math class and basic ag class. We're hoping to add to that in the future. Okay, so as you can see, we went up in every content area except for science. These are 8th grade scores when you look at science and social studies, because 8th grade is the only one that's tested in science and social studies. We know what happened, as I think Michael went into this when he did his presentation. Our science teacher was new. This was a new subject for her. Although she did dig into the standards, she was out also on maternity leave for a while. So we are looking for great gains from her this year. She has a new curriculum that Ms. Arthur bought for her at the end of the year last year that is very hands-on and goes in depth into the standards. So we're looking for great improvements there. These are our improvement targets. What this means is every year we have a target that we need to meet, and we met in everything except for science. Again, we know what the issue was there. We also had one subgroup in math. That math subgroup that is red was already at 82%, so our target was 85, so we were off by a little bit, but 82% is not too bad. So, but we want it to be green. We want it to be green plus, so we're working on that. We have a brand new math curriculum that we have implemented this year, iReady. Our reading program is piloting the reading from iReady, so we're hoping that it's going to be beneficial for us. And we're a 5-star climate, so we're very, very proud of that too, all the way across the board. Any questions? Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank all 3 of you for your leadership and ability to dig down and figure out how to improve it, because it's obviously working. Thank you. Thank all 3 of you.
Next on the agenda are policies for review.
We have 3 policies that will remain in review. Special meetings is policy BCAC, and it lays out the reason and how to post a special meeting, and that is still very effective and will remain that. Next one down is CEE. This is the policy that sets the superintendent's compensation and benefit package cannot be below, or in other words, less than $27,000 per year. I have no idea why that was set, but it can't go below that. And that is a policy throughout the state. It's not Lincoln County's. And then CGE is administrative personnel compensation guides and contracts, and all 3 of those will remain in review, and they are correct and accurate.
Okay. All right. Now we have superintendent reports.
On the 13th of November, I emailed all of the board in regards to converting our policies into Assembly. Assembly cannot accept a double notation. In other words, GAAA/JAAA. It can't do that in its software. So they had to convert our codes to make them a single code. In doing so, I identified where they converted those codes in case you're trying to look for those. I also contacted GSBA, Sandy Venegas, to make sure that we don't have to approve a change in this. And she identified, and I copied it for everybody, that this is not considered a change. It's a code adjustment due to Assembly. So it does not have to be approved by the board. It's no change of the policy. But I wanted to make sure we covered that in case there was a question. Next one down is our LEA designation chart. Annually, we look at this chart through our special education, and you have to have 95 or above to be considered meeting requirements, and we are at 95 or above. So we would either want to see 95 or 100, and we are there, and I wanted to show that to the board. And then the next one down is just received these yesterday. We received 2 100s, one at the elementary school and one at the high school cafeteria again. They have consecutive 100s. It's either 8 or 9. I don't remember the exact number, but they continue to do a super job providing clean food and clean kitchens for our students to be able to eat, and we greatly appreciate their efforts as well. And that's all I have for superintendent's report.
Okay. This time, I need a motion to go
I
into
have-
executive session.
Mr. Chair, I have a question.
Back on the superintendent's reports.
Yes, pertaining to the
Okay.
superintendent's report. I received a text review on Friday.
Okay.
Did you text me on Friday?
Yes, ma'am. But none of that is on here.
I know, but you didn't mention your communication with the board. My question is, Mr. Chair, I had conversation with you earlier that day, Friday. I called you. And you knew of a situation, and you let me be blindsided with I got a call from the street committee about an alleged letter of
Miss Freeman,
That's an
Of-
executive
I asked
session.
you,
Of
did you have a
resignation.
question about superintendent's reports? You said you did.
Yeah, because he did
Well-
not put.
well, it doesn't sound like you're going there
Well,
right now.
I have a problem with lack of communication, but everybody else knew. That's a problem, because if it's so important about confidentiality, why were you discussing it with somebody at a gym club the night before? So that
Ms.
wasn't a
Freeman, Ms.
board
Freeman,
member, so I don't
Look,
wanna hear this
You make
crack and bull.
accusations all the time. You
Do you
lie.
want me?
You lie.
Oh, I'm lying.
Okay.
Do you want me to go
'Cause-
find the
'cause
person?
no, I don't go to the gym at night, first of all.
Well,
So-
whenever,
so-
it might not have been at night, but
Okay.
you were talking to
Well-
somebody at the gym, and if you wanna call me a liar, that's fine
Hey,
too, but
if
you want me
say
to go
that I commented
substantiate it?
about
Hold
something
on
at a
a
gym,
second.
then you
Let-
lied.
Hold on.
I
I,
make a motion, we go into executive
Okay.
session.
Let's,
I make a second. All right, we'll call our meeting back to order. It is been recommended by the superintendent, and I make a motion that we hire Miss Elaine Parks as a substitute custodian, substitute food service worker, and substitute bus driver.
Second.
A second by Mr. Madison. All in favor? 5-0. It is recommended, and I make a motion that we accept the resignation of head football coach and athletic director Michael Pollock, effective end of school year.
Second.
Have a second by Mr. Madison. All in favor?
closer.
Ms. Freeman, we've had our discussion on this,
I have a question.
but we have it's an executive session discussion on personnel.
It's not, yeah, I have a question, Mr. Chair.
Please do not let this get into personnel.
Mr. Chair?
Ask your question. Please do not let it get into personnel.
Mr. Chair, I don't think this is going to breach personnel. But, Mr. Chair, what it will breach is abuse of power, overreach, which
We
I,
have two, a motion and a second.
and I
and
have
I've
the
called
floor
for a
with the
vote.
question.
I've called for a vote.
Mr. Chair?
All in favor?
Parliamentary,
Opposed? Abstain?
abstain. I'm sorry. Mine is abstain.
Okay.
Mr. Chair, I still have an issue. May I have the floor for a minute? I still have an
Go, Ms.
issue,
Freeman.
Mr. Chair, with overreach, with abuse of power. It has been a precedent of some of the members on this board to abuse their power and their reach. And earlier, you displayed some of that inadequate. I think I have the power to call me a liar.
Ms.
Mr.
Freeman,
Chair,
when you
Mr.
speak
Chair, I
lies
have
from
the floor.
table,
Mr.
yes, I
Chair.
will call you out on it from now on. You've done it so many times
Mr.
over the
Chair,
last 2 years.
Mr.
Yes, I will call you out on it.
You could call me out on whatever, but Mr. Chair, before you insinuate that I lie, you better keep your lies in check. Because, Mr. Chair, the one thing that you have no value to me on is to lose my
Miss-
soul and to lie on
Ms.
you.
Freeman, I have no
Mr.
value
Chair,
for you. You've
Mr.
never
Chair,
shown me any
would
value.
you stop?
You've never
I
shown
have
me
the
any
floor.
value.
I always show you respect. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. I have the floor. And according to Robert's rules and parliamentary procedure, please stop interrupting me. So, Mr. Chair, it has been,
Ms. Freeman, this is nothing on our agenda right now. So right now, you're talking. This is not, if there's
Mr.
issues
Chair,
you're seeing with us.
you proved my point on your disrespect for rules and regulation and the fact that you think you got all power in your hand. I motion to adjourn.
I have a second on Mr. Dawson. Thank you.